Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word and the Bahrain Grand Prix race debrief live. Apparently, I have been informed thusly that I need to start the stream as such by saying spoiler alert. That'd be pretty obvious, but we are going to be going over the Bahrain Grand Prix in detail. So just give you a second to disappear, but do come back and watch the stream later if you haven't seen the race. And by the way, do go and watch the race. Ignore Australia. Go and watch this Grand Prix. Incredible. I hope everybody in chat has got their breath back. I haven't. It's still pumping through me, hence the reason we're 20 minutes early. But there you go. I'll get the housekeeping out of the way quickly. You can follow me on social media. All the links are in the description, of course. You can also support the stream through Streamlabs and Super Chat and on Patreon as well. So, yeah, do go check all that out. Links in the description for all of those things. If you haven't seen the race, I'm about to ruin it for you. The race result then. I'm going to go over this very, very quickly. What a Grand Prix. What went on there? What was it? We'll go over it properly, but 5 overtakes for the entire Australian Grand Prix. And we get, I've got it written down, 42 in the first 10 laps in Bahrain. Forget Australia. 2018 started today. Brilliant. Sebastian Vettel, he did take that win. It looked straightforward, pretty much pole to flag, but it really was not. Valtteri Bottas just off in second place. Good recovery for Hamilton in P3. Pierre Gasly, well... I wrote him off in the qualifying report yesterday. Didn't think he'd be able to hang on to 5th, but he managed to finish in 4th. Unbelievable. Kevin Magnussen, P5. Hulkenberg in 6th. Alonso and Van Dorn, great recovery from McLaren, to be fair. P7 and 8, so I couldn't read that then. Marcus Ericsson, he's on the screen there. He is a meme in Discord. He's our driver, so we are a little bit, party mode right now for that one. Esteban Ocon picked up a point for Force India. Solid weekend for them, to be fair. Just looking through for any big results in there. Leclerc, kind of overshadowed by his teammate, but still solid for 14th place. Williams, absolutely miserable. But the retirements, Kimi Raikkonen, Max Verstappen, and Daniel Ricciardo. Now, before we start talking too much about the race, I have somebody to introduce to you all and say hello to. Good evening, for the first time in a long time, Jonty.
Good evening, everyone. How are we?
Jonty is back, people. It's been way too long, mate. It is so good to hear your voice on the stream again.
Oh, and what a time to come back. Did we enjoy that?
It was all right. I mean, just on the edge of my seat right until the line, mate. Absolutely. I was just said there, 2018 started today, didn't it? What a race.
That was the race everyone needed after Australia, let's be honest. That was awesome.
I just crazy from start to finish, and writing off drivers in qualifying like Gasly, who was incredible today, comfortably 4th. Kevin Magnussen, 5th place, should never be underestimated. I don't think he's going to get the headlines. Marcus Ericsson, P9, McLaren doing some overtaking. I mean, you could probably tell it's pumping through me, mate. I am so hyped now for this season because it looks so close.
Yeah, it was fantastic. There was overtakes all over the place. We had crazy strategies. I think there was 3 or 4 different strategies going on at one point.
I don't know. At least 10 strategies it felt like at times. I mean, I will say actually, quick moan. I do have to have a moan before I get into the good stuff. Still no real-time information on the graphics on TV, so we were kind of second-guessing strategy, but I think we got there in the end with our amazing David Croft. I do need to start as well on a little bit of a negative. I guess a positive spin on it. Tweet from Ferrari. Apparently a shin bone and fibula fracture for their mechanic Francesco. Their thoughts are with him, and obviously we echo that as well, Jonty. A horrible accident to see.
Yeah, it was really, really painful to watch. I mean, I've never broken a leg, but I've had some problems with a knee, and that was bad enough. So to watch that was just cringing at the TV. I really hope he recovers soon.
It was horrible. I have no pictures of the close-up, and I won't be showing any on the channel because it was absolutely awful to look at. Again, I just hope he's going to be okay. It looks like he's got a couple of breaks, so obviously in that situation that's bad enough, but of course it could be a hell of a lot worse. So hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. We will talk about that in a bit because that was quite a defining moment in the race, actually, Jonty, in the end. But aside from the obvious, who stands out for you today so far when you look at that result?
Van Dorn hasn't had enough of a mention. Everyone's been talking about Gasly, who got driver of the day. Absolutely right. But Van Dorn, he's matched Alonso in this race. He's kept up with him. And a lot of people were a bit down on him after Australia. So there's a good performance that should get a little bit more recognition.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. I've been saying all winter, I really highly rate Van Dorn. You know, what he achieved in junior formula should never be overlooked when you get to Formula One. But I think aside from obviously Gasly, Magnussen, Ericsson and Co, I think Nico Hulkenberg's going to slide under the radar a little bit here. P6, you know, he had good qualifying, but held off those McLarens, good race pace. And, you know, I think I was actually watching the race live with Chaz. He can't make it to the stream tonight. Obviously, he's got his own content to sort out. But I was talking during the race to Chaz. We're a little bit surprised as to how far Sainz seems to be off Hulkenberg in this early stage of the season.
Yeah, it is a little bit strange. I thought if anyone was going to be sort of taking the fight to Hulkenberg, it was going to be Sainz. I mean, he was so quick when he got into the team at the end of last year. And the start of this year, he's he's not totally off the pace, but he's certainly just lacking, mainly in qualifying. So it's something he needs to work on that, certainly for the next race, or else there might be questions asked and he might be shipped back somewhere else. Yeah,
there's a long way to go obviously this season. So, but we're not going to start off really with Renault on that one because we're going to start with Red Bull because they were the team that I was backing for a podium today. I thought Ricciardo was nailed on for third. I honestly thought Verstappen was going to come through and give us some great racing, but absolute pure misery, Jonty. I mean, Ricciardo's car electrical problem just shuts down on him. Verstappen has a moment with Lewis Hamilton, which went down as a racing incident, which I'm sure we'll talk about in Q&A and whatnot, but I would call that a racing incident, to be honest.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem with that one was Alonso. He was so slow coming out of that corner. It kind of messed up both Max and Lewis. One of them should have probably backed out of it, but Max never will, and he came off worse.
No. I don't know. I think Lewis Hamilton, excuse the language if you can call it that, he did refer to Max Verstappen in the cool-down room as a dickhead. I don't entirely agree with that. He can be, I'm sure, but just another weekend where points have been thrown away for Red Bull. Obviously, Ricciardo, good result in Australia, but Verstappen had his trouble as well. Probably should have been further up. And, you know, they were quick this weekend and they're in the mix for that top three. But if Ferrari and Mercedes carry on the way they are with their upgrades and their pace, you know, Red Bull really can't afford to miss out on races like this. For example, Ricciardo, the opportunity to finish on the podium and outscore Lewis Hamilton and take some points away from Mercedes. You know, it's a big moment.
Yeah, I mean, Ricciardo definitely would have been in the shout with the podium. Absolutely. And it is very harsh from Lewis to say that because effectively he just did to Verstappen what Vettel did to him in Mexico.
Yeah, effectively. Yeah, it's... I don't know. I think that was a racing incident. Obviously, then he had his own electrical issues, didn't he, with the car? Or did he say something wrong with the diff? I seem to remember in an interview I was setting up the stream.
Yeah, there was some kind of issue with the diff because of going around the entire lap with only one wheel. It puts a lot of stress on one side.
Yeah. There's a hell of a hit as well on Hamilton's car. I'm surprised he came out of that with no damage, to be honest, because it was sort of wheel-to-wheel contact, but it wasn't flat wheel-to-wheel, was it? So I'm a little bit surprised he got off with no damage on that one.
Yeah, he was quite lucky to get away with that. We have seen lesser contact result in more damage, so he was just lucky there, I think. Nothing more than that.
I think we have to kind of applaud, probably Haas aside, on the strength of these cars. Bits flying off Grosjean's car left, right and centre without contact. But Perez finished the race despite a hell of a whack from Hartley on the first lap. So are these cars stronger? They seem to be. I know they have a lot of crash tests to kind of pass, but they just seem to be able to stay together after a bit of a crash.
There certainly does seem to be a bit more strength in the suspension components. I mean, that was a big hit, and we saw Force India it did take to the air briefly, which is usually a good sign that something's going to break, and he did carry on. So I'm sure something might have been bent, though.
Yeah, it took a hell of a whack, didn't he, in the end? We'll talk about the front two before we get on to Lewis Hamilton properly. Valtteri Bottas. We had a chat briefly through DMs on Discord, didn't we, Jonty, about this one? But I look at that now and looking back, and I will watch the race again tomorrow because I'll probably watch it again tonight. It was that good. Bottas should have won that race, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I was toying with this in my head of how to word it because obviously he's had a good race. He's finished P2, you know, really, really good, strong performance. But for me, he looks outclassed. Any other driver, well, not any, but a good 5 or 6 other drivers from the field in that position would have won.
Yeah. It's the fact that, I mean, Toto Wolff said, in hindsight, in an interview with Sky Sports, said in hindsight, should we have pushed a little more in the middle phase of the race? Ferrari were on the ropes, and Sebastian Vettel kind of said as much on the podium, didn't he? That he didn't think he was going to be able to hold off Bottas, and he'd struggled to hold off Hamilton. So obviously Hamilton had his communication issues, but why is Bottas? Is that a team instruction, do you think? Because as a driver, he should be seeing Vettel on those soft tyres going, hang on a minute, he put those on around the time I put these on, he's going to fall off a cliff. Let's get right on the back of him. Don't allow him to nurse those tyres. Keep pushing him. And I've got a win here. And it would have been a hell of a popular win given sort of the flack he got after Australia.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at that chance he had on the last lap, and he just kind of backed out of it a bit. He was very timid on the attack. He still had a good 10 seconds back to Hamilton. He should have just gone for it. If it doesn't come off and he goes wide, he's still got plenty of time to stay in second. So go for it. Know when you've got the chance to just hang it all out, take the risk, because it's not much of a risk in the end of the day. He's not going to lose anything. He's got everything to gain.
That's the thing. You've got Vettel in that position. He's, how can I word this? Not like, I don't want to upset Vettel fans with this. He's not aggressive, is he? He can be, as we saw last year when he wants to be, but he's not really aggressive in the same way Verstappen or Ricciardo are in the overtake. So Bottas could have thrown it up the inside of Vettel, and I think Vettel wouldn't have jumped out of the way, but he would have tried to avoid contact. It wasn't like he was going up against, what you could say at times a hothead like Verstappen. He could have thrown that up the inside, Vettel out of the way, Bottas wins a race, Vettel nurses home to second, because Vettel's focus will have been Lewis Hamilton. He doesn't care what Bottas does, and I'm not giving Bottas stick for this. He won't be fighting for the championship. It is between Vettel and Hamilton. If Vettel finishes second, Hamilton third, that's as good as a win for Vettel, surely, in some respects.
Yeah, as long as he's taking points out of his main championship rival, that's a win. He's always going to be ahead. And Mercedes themselves should have been pushing Bottas more. They should have been saying, come on, get on him. Because the longer he took to catch up, the longer Vettel had to nurse those tyres. If he'd been up right behind him with 6 or 7 laps to go instead of 3, it would have killed his tyres even quicker.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree the team should have been on him, but as a racing driver, he should want to be on him. This is, when you look back through history in Formula 1, some of the great minds will have already, Michael Schumacher, Alain Prost, Niki Lauda will have worked out in their head, hang on a minute, he put those tyres on at the same time, let's get on this. And Bottas shouldn't need mechanics or his team to tell him to push. I mean, I guess that's just the era of Formula 1 we're in at the moment, isn't it? If the team say don't push, they can't push. Fuel, tyres, 3 engines a season. Let's not get back into that debate. But as a racing driver, you'd expect him to just be like, I'm going for the win. Screw this.
Yeah, that's very true. He really should be able to read that situation for himself. But like you say, is that indicative of Formula 1 at the moment? They're too reliant on the pit wall. Maybe that's a whole nother topic for a Q&A session.
Definitely. Maybe a good one for a midweek debate at some point. We've got a good one this week coming up on Wednesday. But yeah, hopefully we might go over in the future. There'll be something we debate shortly as well when we get on to Kimi Räikkönen. But Lewis Hamilton, I said in my qualifying report, to me, I don't know if anybody agrees in chat or you do, Jonty, all weekend he seemed really flat. And, a lot of people saying, well, is that because of the gearbox issue? Probably, most likely. But there just seems to be something else. And, he's not signed his contract yet. He goes on about wanting to be loyal to the team. The team say it's a matter of time before he signs. If that's the case, just sign the contract. I'm not convinced there isn't something going on, because he sounded thoroughly miserable in that car today. Happy enough on the podium, but miserable in that car.
Yeah, he did, been complaining about odd little things over the radio as well, to do with communication. Hit the pit wall as well, saying they couldn't hear him, which sounded like a bit of an odd argument. We could hear him.
Yeah.
But you're right, he just seemed not bored, but a bit depressed almost all weekend. And with the contract negotiation going on, maybe there is something to that. Maybe he will be going.
We have to be fair. Obviously, he seemed down, but even when he seems down, he went from 9th to 3rd, and that overtake, John T. Okay, 2 Renault-powered cars, but a Force India, a Renault, and a McLaren all in one corner. Anybody else was doing that, everyone would be absolutely going bananas, for want of a better term, about that fantastic move. And Lewis Hamilton just gets it, it was 2 Renault-powered cars. Well, I don't care. That's 3 cars in one corner. What a move that was.
Yeah, it was a stunning move. It was like Ricciardo in Baku last year. you've still got to get it right on the brakes. And with 3 people who could come ploughing into the back of you, it's probably a bit more scary.
I was watching it. All I thought, honestly, when I watched that, I thought, this is an accident. Was my first thought when I saw those 4 side by side heading down into turn 1. But a phenomenal move, and he deserves the credit for that. And I think he seemed happy on the podium, or at least was making out he was happy. P9 to P3 in, during Formula One, a series you can't overtake in, and in a car that can't follow in traffic. I think he's got to be happy with taking 3rd place. That's proper damage limitation there.
Yeah, it was really a stunning performance. I think, mate, could he have got a bit more if they had changed the strategy? Because the strategy did work for Vettel in the end.
Yeah, true. I mean, they're saying they had communication issues, which is why he didn't know what times to be doing to push. But, going back to the other incident, he should just be pushing. He's trying to win the Grand Prix or trying to catch his teammate. He knew the tyres that Vettel was on, so he should have been really pushing. But at the same time, like we said there, if the team say don't push, they're not going to push. But mix the strategy up. I don't know. I still can't believe Vettel got to the end on the softs, to be honest. I thought we were looking at Silverstone last year with a puncture. That's what I was waiting for, and Gasly getting a podium, everybody going crazy. But yeah, I suppose. I don't know.
There is a point. I mean, that's one thing I've never really rated Vettel for, is being able to really nurse a set of tyres. Like, there's other drivers that we do know are masters at making tyres last. Perez has always been one for that. And Vettel's shown today he can definitely do it. That was a hell of a long stint on tyres that had no right getting that far. So credit where it's due there.
Yeah, absolutely. Is it 39 laps? There's something around there, wasn't it? Yeah, and obviously Hamilton did around 25, give or take. I haven't got all the numbers in front of me. Obviously, it was straight after the race. It's just the debrief. He did look into the podium in some respects. We've got to talk about it. I know you've done a video on it on your channel, Jonty. It's a bit of a hot topic at the moment. That pit stop, Kimi Räikkönen, in he comes, on go the 4 tyres according to the pit release system. They tell the guy in the pit wall, yep, all 4 tyres are changed. He hits the button to release the car. The left rear wasn't even off, and it wipes out a mechanic. I mean, without getting too ranty about it, that system has got to be looked at. It's one thing with the Haas issues, but when you've got mechanics getting injured, it's got to be looked at.
No, for me, forget being looked at. It's got to go. It's just too unsafe. Yes, the incidents are few and far between, but today it was an incident where someone could have been killed. It's not unrealistic to say that he could have been killed. And yes, I did go on quite a bit about it in my video. I won't quote the whole lot, but having that one human element between car leaving or not leaving is what makes the difference. And it's got to change.
That's it. Somebody with a lollipop, like we had in the old days, here he goes again, can see all 4 tyres. They can see when a mechanic puts their arm up. There's no automated system, no sensors. That person makes that decision at the end of the day. And okay, it's going to cost teams half a second in a pit stop. But if that stops mechanics getting injured, and you've just said there, Jonty, and it's, these incidents are few and far between. They don't happen all the time. But then we had a device attached to a car this season called a Halo. I don't know if you've heard about it. That was put on for incidents that also were few and far between. So it's got to be addressed, and it's got to be changed. And I still think, if not just for just temporarily, while they try and find a better system, just put a lollipop person back in there, because it makes the most sense. Or absolutely, I don't like it because it takes the element of the trying to get a pit stop done quickly. But if they have to, a minimum pit stop time, 5 seconds or something like that. We can't have this risk, and if the Halo is bought in for freak accidents and things that happen every now and again or very rarely, then they need to address this now as well.
Yeah, and mentioning the minimum pit stop time, when it's a safety issue, that's not unreasonable at all. Formula E has a minimum pit stop time of 30 seconds because it's a very different thing. They're changing a driver from one car to the other, but it's still the same essence of the safety being maintained.
I think did the Formula E minimum pit stop get stopped for this year?
I think they have changed it for this year because the cars can go further. They don't have whatnot, and they've got things practiced and down to a fine art now. But some people saying in chat, don't overreact. It's not an overreaction, really, because teams are losing points and getting people injured. It's a simple solution of you have the lollipop guy or a minimum time. These things don't happen ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer the lollipop person back rather than the minimum pit stop time, because it does, like I say, it takes that strategical element out, doesn't it? Because I like seeing these guys going, oh, if we can save half a second in the pit stop, then fantastic, we can gain a position, or we might not get stuck in traffic. So I'd rather have that. But, you know, like you say, people saying it was an overreaction, well, I'm pretty sure that the family and friends and the guy who's now got a broken leg aren't thinking, oh, this is a bit of an overreaction. You know, at the end of the day, it is a freak accident. It's something that doesn't happen all the time. But I don't know. It's you could say an overreaction. Maybe it's all in the heat of the moment. But at the end of the day, somebody's been injured. It can be stopped. And if we're going to have safety in Formula One as paramount, as the FIA are pretty adamant it has to be, then it has to be addressed. And like I say, not necessarily minimum pit stop time, but bring back the lollipop guy or whatever. There has to be something, but we're not going about it too much. The important thing is the guy, he's not okay. He's obviously broken his leg in a couple of places, but, you know, he's alive, and that's the important thing. And it was just reminiscent for me, obviously very different, but reminiscent of that incident in, was it the Nürburgring, Mark Webber? A few years back, with that wheel bouncing down the pit lane, hitting the cameraman. You know, fail safes were put in place after that incident, which stopped the wheels coming off completely. So the FIA do have history of reacting sometimes when things go a little bit wrong. So maybe they'll look at it. But I get the distinct impression, Jonty, that as it all dies down, they'll do stuff all as they usually do and probably wait till somebody gets seriously injured or killed.
Yeah, that's usually the FIA way of dealing with things.
It's harsh, but it's the way they seem to operate, isn't it? We'll move on from that one. I think we're going to have to give this guy... let's see if I can find my clever little picture, which took me literally minutes to make. There we go. Driver of the day, officially, Pierre Gasly. What a drive that was, Jonty. From, you know, I said in my qualifying report, he won't be able to hang on to fifth, but if they can get a couple of points, they'll be very happy. What must they be thinking right now if a couple of points would have made them happy? Brilliant drive.
No, if anyone's sober in the Toro Rosso garage by midnight, I'll be very surprised. That was a hell of a race for them. And it's not just today. Gasly's been quick all weekend.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's been in the top 10 of every single session.
If he hasn't, he's been in just around there, hasn't he? But Hartley's been quick as well, but of course he's going to be eclipsed by this one. Toro Rosso just looked good all weekend. They were stunned. Toro Rosso was stunned after qualifying. Actually, Pierre Gasly saying himself, we knew we had upgrades, but we didn't think they'd make this much of a difference. And it's just a fantastic drive. And I think it's not just that he finished fourth, but the fact that he ended up, I can't remember what it was now, but comfortably in fourth place. I think he was maybe 7 seconds up the road from Grosjean. Okay, a long way off the podium, but it was always going to be. But that's shown maturity and serious talent from a guy, as well as his teammate, that had huge question marks hanging over them coming into this season. And that may have just answered a few critics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you say it does show a lot of quality to him and maturity. It's not just when drivers have got, you know, pressure of someone right on their tail chasing them down. When they're pretty much all by themselves, just driving around, it's very easy for the concentration to break then as well when there's nothing to keep you alert.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kept it on the road, kept it tidy, and kept it quick. Look at the result. Fantastic.
That's it. And of course, he's looked out with incidents around him and whatnot. But at the end of the day, as we said with Vettel in Australia, you have to put yourself in that position to capitalise on that little bit of fortune. But to be fair to him, it was only a little bit of fortune. It's not like he would have been 15th had incidents not have happened. He was probably solidly 5th. So yeah, I don't know what else to say, really. I don't want to go on too much about it because I'll sound like a bit of a fanboy, but it was actually just an impressive drive all round and, like you say, a very good weekend. But also for Toro Rosso, we have to say, Jonty, because Hartley, aside from the incident with Perez, did look good this weekend and was quick on track as well.
Yeah, very much so. Someone just said in the chat, if they both had all of the updates at the same time, Hartley could have been much further forward and without his penalty.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Very fair point.
Easy double points for them without that penalty.
Yeah. Is this track specific? It's a hot place and it's a very an important circuit in terms of power, let's say. And Honda were quick and reliable. Is this a one-off, or do we think Honda have finally lived up to their pre-season, not promise, but, well, promise is, I guess you could say. All the talk that we had all winter, we'll be able to fight for top three. I don't think top three's on, but they look good to be in that midfield fight now.
Yeah, they've got to be really, really confident now. If they can, like you say, Bahrain's hot, it's very reliable on power. If they can do it there, they must be really rubbing their hands together at the thought of going to colder places or more technical places.
Yeah. I'm going to say this. I apologise to ST immediately because I've just checked. We have just ticked over 1,300 people watching this stream. That's now just made me nervous. Thank you very much. If you are new, don't forget to hit that sub button, and please do, if you like what you're hearing or enjoying it, do smash that like button. But I'm going to do this now, ST. I'm sorry. In chat now, spam me. One surname, your driver of the day. Was it Gasly? Do you agree with the official decision? Do you think Ericsson should get a shout? Would you go with Gasly, Jonty?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there are other drivers who've done more overtaking and put in quicker times, but he's the one who really pulled it out of the fire and outperformed his car.
I'm going to try and keep up this chat now. A lot of people saying Gasly. Ericsson's getting a shout. Alonso. Yeah, Alonso. Good comeback from him, actually, in the end, wasn't it? I think he did well. I'm regretting this already, Jonty. Yeah. I cannot keep up with that, guys. You'll just have to read that yourself.
You need to remember this stream, we've doubled the previous highest viewer count. So
yeah,
there's a fair few shouts for Vettel, which is fair on those tyres, and a few for Magnussen.
A couple saying last name. Didn't race this weekend, sadly to see. Stoffel, you said Stoffel actually earlier, didn't you, Jonty? A couple saying Stoffel.
Yeah, sadly, last name was outside the 107% rule, so he didn't start.
Okay, that'll be why. The mighty dash. Will anyone see this? I saw that because it's the only thing that wasn't a surname. Grosjean. Okay, I mean, he managed to get his car around with a barge board missing and whatnot, so I guess, yeah. Magnussen, yeah, I think, to be fair, let's pop the result back up, actually, because Magnussen, P5, I've not really mentioned him enough. That seems a bit harsh. A good bounce back for Haas, actually, from the incidents in Australia.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, watching that first pit stop they did, you could almost see the guy's hands shaking.
Yeah.
The high fives that were going on afterwards, they were super, super happy with that. And both of the Haas cars, they've had to fight for where they ended up. They didn't just cruise around waiting for the incidents. They had to do a lot of overtaking.
Yeah, they were strong. And I mean, we got loads of overtaking anyway, didn't we? But Haas certainly were in the mix for most of it. Just having a look through the order now at some other people that we do need to talk about. Force India, not a great weekend in Australia, have looked a lot closer to where they should be this weekend. I don't think they're quite there yet, but Ocon picked up a point, and that's going to be a big confidence boost going to China, which is only a week away, which I wish was tomorrow based on what we've just seen. But yeah, I think Force India, they've had a good weekend, I think, all round.
Well, they couldn't have had a worse one, let's be honest. It was a much, much improved performance by both of them. They've got to be a lot happier going towards China with certainly the big long straight that we've got there.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 2 races into the season as well, and we can already see the development rate of some teams, can't we? Stuff coming every weekend at the moment. Somebody's just said something in chat, which I completely forgot about, and we do need to talk about Haas. Their race was blown by pit stop problems in Australia. Obviously, as we well know, it's well documented now. Everyone knows about that. We'll not go into that again. But very nearly self-destruct again. Magnussen and Grosjean. Given that Grosjean pitted at the end of that lap, he cut across Magnussen, nearly took him out. He pits at the end of that lap. What the hell were the team doing? Magnussen was clearly quicker. I don't like team orders, but that was an absolute no-brainer. Absolutely stupid from Grosjean.
Yeah, it really was. I can remember who was coming out of the pits. I can't remember. Sorry.
Was it? I can't remember. Somebody in chat will tell us. Was it a McLaren?
No, one of the. Oh, I can't remember. There's so many things.
There's so much happened, didn't it? But yeah, somebody was coming out of the pits, weren't they?
They certainly need to be talking to both the drivers just to keep things safe. It's what I've said in streams way in the past because I haven't been on for a month. But some of these teams that are fighting mid or slightly lower mid field, they need to be working together. They need to not stop the racing between the drivers, but just make them work with each other so that they're not slowing each other down, and then they can really take the fight further forward. Then, once they're further ahead, the guys can fight.
It's different to a world championship, isn't it? You know, we don't want Raikkonen jumping out the way for Vettel. We don't want Bottas jumping out the way for Hamilton. That's not what we want to see. But like you say, that midfield is so tight and the money is so crucial to these teams that, you know, one must, if they wipe each other out, you've got Gasly scoring heavily for Toro Rosso, Hulkenberg scoring heavily for Renault, McLaren scoring well, you've got Force India in the points. You know, that's all of a sudden what looked like a fantastic year for Haas, or a fantastic start to the year, has just absolutely gone in one moment. But what I can't get my head around is why they were pitting Grosjean at the end of that lap anyway. Just tell him to get the hell out of the way. What are they doing? I know Grosjean doesn't like being told to get out of the way, but when you're looking at it from a team perspective, it was just a ridiculous moment that could have cost them a hell of a lot of points and potentially a hell of a lot of money again.
Yeah, it's idiotic. They need to be thinking long term. Yes, it might get rid of some of the excitement on track, but can they afford that? No, they really can't.
It's crazy. And when you think about what happened back in Australia, you know, the key for them has got to be picking up those points now that they couldn't get in Australia. Because I think they would have only been a few points off their entire 2017 total had they finished in Australia. And potentially today, they weren't going to finish again. So just stupid. It's just a no-brainer for me. I am going to stick on the negatives. If you're a Williams fan, well, what can I say? Absolutely dire. They've been absolutely nowhere this weekend. They weren't great in Australia. I know Stroll had his issues. I mean, people calling me a bit of a Williams hater have obviously not gone back to other videos and heard me praise Stroll for his Q1 lap in Australia, which was a very good lap to get himself out of that session and jump through the field. So, you know, I'm balanced on this one, but I cannot say anything other than Williams was shocking this weekend. Yes, Stroll had his front wing problems. What the hell is going on there, John T? It's just not good enough.
I have no idea. We were so looking forward to them coming back over the winter. Now they got Paddy Lowe on board, and it's just nothing. They're not going anywhere. If anything, they're getting slower. It makes no sense, and it can't. We've been very negative, admittedly, about both of the drivers.
Yeah,
generally, but it can't just be down to them. It really can't. There is something seriously up with that car. Last year, they got it wrong. They admitted they got it wrong very early on. This year, they've got no excuse.
When I was watching the race live, Leclerc made a pit stop. I am saying Leclerc now because it has been confirmed. He had an interview and that's how he wants it pronounced. So there we go. Not with me. Unfortunately, that'd be a hell of a story for next week. But Charles Leclerc pitted, and I think he closed Stroll and Sirotkin down by 5 seconds in 2 or 3 laps in a Sauber that has not no business being quicker than a Williams, but I knew Williams were going to struggle coming into this season, and we gave them a hard time in the winter, and we predicted it would be tough, but I did not think it would be this tough. I honestly did not. I know maybe, I don't know if you did, Jonty, but I just didn't think it was going to be as bad as this. I knew they were going to struggle early on, but this looks like a long way back, and I really doubt, as good as Stroll and Sirotkin have been in lower series, allegedly, I just don't see where the experience to turn this car around is going to come from. Yes, they've got Kubica, but he's not raced for, 8 years?
Yeah, exactly. They need some truly experienced blood behind the wheel. Anyone that's left in the last 2 years would be a big, big benefit to that team in development.
Are we seeing... How can I try and word this right? But Felipe Massa left at the end of last season. I'm, like you, Jonty, still not convinced that he wanted to go. I think that was a decision taken by the team. He went off, and are we now seeing what Massa actually brought to that team last year? Would this Williams have been this bad, or would they have struggled as much last year had they had a young and experienced lineup in? Was that feedback from Massa and everything from pre-season key to their year last year that managed to get them fifth? Let's not forget, they were fifth in the championship last year, and it's not that long ago they were third.
Well, he's the big difference. He's the only real difference as far as drivers go. Where you look at the design department, they've actually got more people come in. So realistically, they should kind of balance out, and yet they don't. They're going down. I mean, someone just said in the chat, Nico Rosberg's been doing a lot of work with Kubica, trying to get his race drive back and sort out his management. Get him a part of the team with development. He's not racing. It's not a real big risk to him, because I know he wants to be safe with it, because now he's got children. That's why he retired from racing. Anyone.
So many drivers available. Even a Jean-Eric Vergne, for example, would have been a good call. And I'm not going to bash Stroll and Sirotkin, because, like you said there, this isn't just them. They have to take some of the blame. But at the end of the day, if the car is crap, it doesn't matter how good you are as a driver. Put Lewis Hamilton in that Williams, he will not be winning races and world championships. There's absolutely no way. That car is not good enough. And Rob Smedley said as good on the grid that he wasn't happy and things weren't where they needed it to be. The team, to be fair to them, are very open about it and saying, look, we're trying to work on this, we're trying to sort this out. But the money isn't there. Claire Williams saying on, was it Friday's press conference, saying that the future under the current financial way that Formula One is looks bleak for Williams, which says to me that if they don't change things for 2021, we might not see Williams on the grid. And as much crap as I give them, which I do, that is massively sad, because they are a team for me that were a serious force. When I was growing up watching F1, right back to South Africa 92 and watching, Mansell dominate, Prost dominate, Villeneuve and Hill, Williams were a serious force. And all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but they've gone. I mean, I've just mentioned there on Villeneuve. What do you make of that, by the way? I did a video on it the other day, John T. I called him the ever-deluded Jacques Villeneuve. I mean, what the hell is he on about? Kubica apparently deliberately sabotaging Williams to try and get a seat from Sirotkin. Oh, dear.
Well, as I said in my comment on that video, he must be a flat earther with that kind of delusion. He really must. He's forever been deluded, because he's always believed he's better than his father. And he's not, and has never even been close.
I tried to cool off in that video. When I read that comment, I didn't know what video I was going to do that day. I had some other stuff planned, and I read that, and I was like, sod off. You are talking absolutely... Aside from anything else, Robert Kubica is not the kind of guy, does not strike me as the kind of guy to do that. He'll want to do it on pace, and at the end of the day, I mean, Stroll said himself that he doesn't listen to what Villeneuve says anymore. I think that's probably one of the most sensible things I've ever heard Lance Stroll say, and he said some sensible stuff, to be fair. But yeah, absolutely ridiculous from Villeneuve. But where do you stand on Williams? Is it sad, or is this just tough, really, because this is their own making?
It's very sad and tough. I mean, I'd be very, very sad to see Williams go. Same as you, they were always one of the front-running and exciting teams when I was growing up. And to see them just wither into nothing is so disappointing. But like you say, it is of their own making. They've just been making so many of the wrong decisions for too long. And it's going to bite them. And if this year carries on as it is, I worry about them being here next year.
Yeah. I wonder if this is why, they say Sirotkin was quick, and that's fair enough. We'll take them on that one. But I think the money had something to do with it. I think we're now seeing why they needed to take Sirotkin, because if the future already looks bleak and we're not even at the rules reset in 2021, then I guess as much as I don't like quote unquote pay drivers, I know Sirotkin's more than a pay driver, but the money's got him there at the end of the day. If it helps teams survive, then you kind of have to back it a little bit and get in Williams' corner. But hopefully, and we'll debate it in Wednesday's live debate, John T, hopefully this rumoured changes to the way the sport is structured financially, Williams and co will survive and can compete. But like I say, I won't go into it now, but I'm not entirely sure that'll make any difference. But yeah, it's sad days for Williams. But one team I do want to come on to before we go into any kind of Q&A or anything like that is McLaren. Terrible qualifying yesterday, quite embarrassing for them, and they were quite open about that as well, to be fair to them. At the end of the day, points on a Sunday, aren't they, John T? So they've had a good recovery. If they can nail qualifying, have they got the fourth best car on the grid? Because I'm starting to wonder. I know they've looked in as well today with some retirements and whatnot, but they look quick today and very racy.
They certainly had good race pace. The amount Alonso was quick for the whole race. He didn't really have to do any sort of tyre management or what have you. They also got the strategy right, so he could just keep his foot flat down the whole time, and it's really paid off. But you have to look at the fact that both cars are up there, 7th and 8th. All of the other teams that have done remarkably well are split by quite a distance.
Yeah, true.
That's what it says to me, that it is the car that's very, very good. Obviously, Alonso's good, and Van Dorn has proved himself to be good. But there's definitely something in the car more than just the drivers. So 4th, maybe, probably 5th at the moment.
I will say, aside from how quick they are, or aren't, however you want to look at it, it is just great to see Fernando Alonso smiling, having fun, and bloody racing again, Jonty. It's where he should be, in that grid, mixing it up, having great races. Fantastic to see.
Yeah, that's why we've always supported and followed him and enjoyed watching him racing. Even if he wasn't right at the front, he still makes it exciting. He's still one of the good overtakers. That's always been one of his strengths. So if we get to watch that and it's in the midfield, that's fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to say Van Dorn, he's only going to get better this year. I do rate him, so hopefully we're going to see him do well. Before we go into Q&A, though, to start preparing your questions, don't put them in the chat yet because I'm bound to miss them today because that's going to fly, but do get them ready in your head. One man we do need to talk about a little bit, Jonty, given that he is pretty much the Discord mascot and rapidly becoming the channel mascot. He's even there in a picture on the stream. Marcus Ericsson, what a drive. He's got lucky with, Ricardo, Verstappen, Raikkonen retiring, but he was quick today and he was overtaking and he looked bloody good out there.
Yeah, you get hashtag squad goals for the Ericsson fan group here. That's a great performance and points for Sauber. So, yeah, my prediction was a little bit off. I said 10 points finishes for Leclerc. Maybe it's going to be Ericsson, but it's still a Sauber.
You're dreading the end of year stream, aren't you, Jonty?
I'm not sure.
Somebody said to me, big surprise to see Leclerc being outperformed by Ericsson. I think if we ignore Ericsson just for a second in terms of Sauber, Leclerc looked quick as well, and he was punchy and racy. So, but we have to remember as well, Leclerc stopped twice and wasn't a million miles away from the points. So he is right up there. And I'm just wondering if we could get a few more results like this from Ericsson and Leclerc. And also, are we actually going to have to admit, I know it's, one swallow doesn't make a summer, but maybe admit that Ericsson wasn't the terrible driver we've kind of joked that he is throughout the winter. Although we support him and we do want him to do well and he's become a bit of a channel mascot, we have given him some grief. But like I say, he looked good today, and maybe we're seeing the Ericsson of 2015. His first points finish since Monza 2015.
Yeah, and the thing that stood out for me today is the fact that he looked calm while he was overtaking. There was none of the scrappy stuff we've seen in the past, mainly with his teammate, whoever that was at the time. It's always been a bit twitchy. Today he was smooth, and he really, really kept it on point.
I'm really impressed. I didn't think he was going to do it, but he just looked quick. And I think, again, although he got done by Van Dorn, Alonso at the end, they were on much fresher tyres, he was still holding his own out there. And I think it's a great sign that if the battle at the front is between three, it's great that we're going to have the rest of the field, especially if Williams can turn it around as well, fighting for points. And I'm just so excited for this season. It really has started this weekend. Somebody, I think it was Karthik in chat, just said Hartley's penalty was also a reason, obviously referring there to Leclerc and Ericsson. But good point made there. Hartley had a 10-second penalty at his pit stop and still 13th. I mean, what could he have done without that?
Unfortunately, they've all been lapped, so we haven't really got the actual
exactly.
times.
Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it?
But I'm sure there's got to be a couple of positions in that. Maybe up with maybe looking around the 10th spot, get that last point.
I can say it was that close between them lot in the end that Sainz wasn't really on it. Force India were good, but fresh tyres, super softs as well. He could have had a good go at Ocon. That would have been a good scrap at the end, but like I said earlier, fantastic performance all around from Toro Rosso. We haven't spoken much about the race leader. Just a great managed drive from him. He sweated a bit towards the end, but he got those tyres there. Like I say, not always known for his tyre management, but deserves the credit for that one. So I'm sure he's going to get some flack from one side of the fan base over the course of the next week and, whatnot. But I think he deserves the credit for that. And is this shaping up to be Vettel's 5th, or are we just so stupidly early in the season? That was the most ridiculous question I could have asked.
Yeah, it is a bit early for that. But the one thing I was most impressed about is that I've given Vettel flack for not handling pressure in the past. You go back to Canada 2011, Button had no right to win that race. All Vettel had to do was keep it on the track, and he couldn't because of the pressure on him. Today, he just nailed it and ignored the pressure. So he proved me wrong on that, and I'm quite happy about it.
Yeah, it's good to see, and I think after what happened last year, some of the incidents, he's probably not matured, because that's quite patronising in a way, because he's not a young driver, is he? But maybe just calm down a little bit, realise he needs to just soak that pressure up rather than kind of succumbing to it, if you like. And I was impressed with him today. I still think Bottas should have won it, and I think had we had Verstappen, Hamilton, Ricciardo behind him, maybe an Alonso, I think it would have been a different outcome. But, you know, maybe Bottas a bit nervous after Australia, I don't know. But I still think good recovery from him as well. But we're not going to go back over that, Jonty. Start getting your questions in chat, then we'll go to Q&A in just a moment. But we're set for a good season now, aren't we, Jonty, potentially? We can forget Australia, can't we? That was just the rehearsal.
Yeah, well, let's hope that turns out to be the one bad race, and that even Russia and Abu Dhabi throw up something spectacular. They won't,
yeah,
but we can hope.
Let's hop in to Q&A, because I'd imagine we're going to have to be quite quick at trying to read these, actually, Jonty. Let's have a look. I did see one. Do you think that Kimi should get a penalty, asks Neon.
Absolutely not. It is the team's problem,
yeah,
not Kimi's.
It's obviously Haas didn't get a penalty for theirs, did they? And he didn't in practice. Whether they'll look at it differently because this is the second pit stop problem of the weekend for them and somebody has been injured in it, I don't know. But I have to say, I do want to kind of not applaud the FIA and the stewards, but a bit of consistency, Jonty. Haas didn't get a penalty for unsafe release, or the drivers didn't. They got fined. And Ferrari, Kimi Räikkönen didn't get a penalty for his. So a little bit of consistency across the board there, which is good to see. Hopefully we're going to get that a little bit more this season.
Yeah, well, it's looking like that at the moment. Probably need to wait a couple of hours to find out for certain.
Nova Puggy, great name, says, will Hamilton sign a new contract? I said earlier, didn't I, in the stream, something's up with him this weekend. Whether it is just the gearbox, I don't know. I'm not convinced that he's decided yet. He says he wants to commit. As far as I'm concerned, if he wanted to commit, he'd have committed already. So I think 2021 will play a big part on what he decides to do, but I don't think he's decided yet, to be honest.
I did read an interview yesterday or Friday saying that he is feeling like he's nearing the end of the best of his career. Whatever you want to make from that, it's a bit vague.
Yeah, that's absolutely. What about this rumour then, actually? I'm going to ask a question now. What do you think about this rumour that he's a little bit miffed that Toto Wolff allegedly went to try and get Vettel or Verstappen to be his teammate for 2018?
I don't think that would affect him. He's a proper racer, so I think he would have relished that.
Yeah. Had a donation from Magath88. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. This is how Honda is reacting to the race. I'm assuming something's happened. They're probably drunk. And if they're not, they should be. Oh, it's Bahrain, they can't, can they? But yeah, great weekend for Honda. We have to give them that credit. Daniel Weston, should Bahrain be the first race?
I'm starting to think that. In the past, I was always very happy. Well, not always in the past. It's only been the first since 1996. I think Australia began as the first race, but it was always great. In the last few years, Australia's been a bit twitchy, and Bahrain's been great.
Yeah.
Maybe it is time to change. It's done it in the past.
Yeah, it has. Was it twice or three times? Twice. Yeah. Fabio Conti, for what race do you have the highest expectations? Well, the bar's just been raised quite spectacularly, but Canada obviously will be a good race. Obviously, I know yours, Jonty, will ask you in just a second, but definitely Canada will be good. Spa's usually pretty decent. Silverstone often throws up quite a good race with lots of overtaking, but I always look forward to Canada, to be honest.
Yeah, Canada always throws up something good. Personally, I think France is going to be epic. And after seeing this one today, I've got a funny feeling Hungary might throw up something special.
Possibly, yeah.
With how close everyone is, and it not being totally power reliant.
Querto RCO, so I can't pronounce that, I'm useless at stuff like this. Force India and the front wing debacle. Well, they had one, didn't they, and gave it to Perez, and he finished behind Ocon. I think that was more to do with the incident with Hartley, to be fair, but did the right guy get the front wing? I mean, he was ahead in the championship for that one, wasn't he? I think Ocon was pretty happy with it, to be fair.
It's the only way they can do it fairly, really. They have to come up with some system where if there's only one of something, then they've got to make a fair decision. It's always going to be the points leader.
Peter Brooks asks, more likely Ricciardo off to Ferrari or Mercedes? I've always said Ferrari will probably be where he ends up if he leaves Red Bull. I'm not convinced on him going to Mercedes. There's the rumour that there's this letter of intent. He's denied it, that he's going to go to Ferrari next year. But the options are there. Any team would be lucky to have him on board.
Oh, sorry, I've just been given some information saying they will not, Force India will not race the front wing trial by Sergio Perez during Friday practice.
Oh, okay.
So neither of them had the wing.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
There you go. That answers that one. Honda now going to Red Bull in 2019, asks James Tumilty. Yeah.
It certainly seems possible now. Yes, it's still early. We can't really make any predictions. But it's certainly looking like one suggestion over the winter that Red Bull will be putting more money into Toro Rosso for the engine development so that they can utilise it next year.
Charles wants to know, do we think that race was better than Baku in 2017? Yes, because it wasn't really affected by safety cars or artificial in that respect, was it? It was just pure racing from, let's say, 18 guys, because Red Bulls didn't really get a chance to really go for it, but pure racing from pretty much a whole grid.
Oh, let's call it 16 guys because you can take the Williams out of it.
Well, they raced each other, did they? It was just a great race. I think better than Baku, which is good because I predict Baku is going to be pretty poor this year, back to sort of 2016 levels. Yeah, I just loved it. Will McLaren win the WCC when Alonso retires? Probably. That's pretty much Alonso's luck, isn't it? He'll probably retire and then McLaren will deliver a car that's a second quicker than everybody else. It's just Alonso's luck.
Yeah, it really is. Alonso should have got the message at Indy last year, I think.
Yeah, agree. Vlogging at Charlie. When Carlos Sainz goes back to Toro Rosso from Renault, who will stay, Hartley or Gasly?
Oh, that's if he goes back.
Yeah. We're not convinced, are we, John T?
No, there will be clauses, although, again, after today's performance, will Carlos himself be trying to plug that route, saying, oi, I'm only on loan, that's my seat, I want to go back.
Could Williams sign with Honda, asks Chandler Ray. That's an interesting one, actually, because I think there was something, I think it was on Sky Sports, could have been Channel 4, where they were talking about Williams needing to go back to being a proper works team to be able to challenge. And if Red Bull say, nah, you're all right to Honda, then it's an option for Williams.
It is an option, but that's a big gamble. Even as good as the Honda has appeared to be today, it's still a massive, massive gamble to ditch the Mercedes.
Yeah. We also have to remember as well, they have the best engine in the back of that car and are struggling. So a Honda is probably going to give a lot more grief than a Mercedes engine will, and that's probably another headache they don't need. So It's an option. I think best hope for Williams, and I feel the same for Haas and a couple of others as well, is what happens in 2021, which I've seen some questions coming through. We're not going to answer them too much today because we are going to be doing a live debate. There'll be me, Jonty and Chaz on Wednesday at 7 p.m. to really go over that, and we are going to debate it because I know me and Chaz have a couple of differences of opinion on at least 2 or 3 things that have been said. So it will be a proper debate and not just agreeing with each other for a change, which I know you guys are after. I think Jonty, they just want an argument.
Yeah, well, everyone enjoys a bit of fireworks.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. It'll be good on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to that one. Not that I wasn't looking forward to this. I was very excited. Javine asks about F2. I'm going to try and do a roundup this week. I'm not going to promise too much. It's going to be a bit difficult to get it out with everything else going on, but I will try. But well, what could you say? We were all saying, oh, F1, look at F2 if you want a great race, and then F1 go and shut us all up with that. But I mean, come on. That feature race on Saturday in particular, Jonty, was epic.
Yeah, it was a stunning race and a stunning performance from a Russian driver who maybe should have been in the Williams seat instead of another Russian driver.
I put a tweet out today about this and said, complete this sentence. Artem Markelov is not in F1 because, and you can imagine the response that got on the number of pay driver comments, but it still baffles me as to why he's not in Formula 1. But 5 years in GP2 or F2, whichever way you want to look at it, often doesn't look very good on a CV, does it?
Yeah, a lot of people have been giving him stick for that, saying, oh, he's been there for 5 years. And yet it just takes him a bit longer than others to maximise his capabilities.
Yeah.
Alan Prost was in F1 for 5 years before he won a title.
Thank you very much to Lee Hayes for your contribution there. Really do appreciate it, mate. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Goes back into the channel and goes a long way to helping to improve the content, which I think I'm going to have to start improving, judging by how the channel's blowing up at the moment. But yeah, we'll keep going. Why no live commentary for the race from you guys? Honestly, Dark Lord, if I've been completely not blunt about it, because I don't want to sound harsh or anything, we got a real mixed reaction from that stream. We got quite a lot of crap, let's say, from the vocal minority, and we foolishly listened to the vocal minority because I've had a lot of messages today asking why we're not doing it and how much you guys thoroughly enjoyed it. So we are going to look at doing odd ones through the season, but we're not going to commit to it every single race. So they are going to come back, but they won't be a guarantee for every race at the moment. I know, Jonty, we talked about it through the winter, didn't we? Like an alternative commentary.
Yeah, and the only real issue I can see with it, which I'm going to ask the stream if anyone knows a way around it, is that when people are listening to us with commentary, they're not getting the sound of the race.
Yeah,
because obviously they've got to turn that off because of Crofty.
Yeah,
which a lot of people do anyway, but that's beside the point. But if there's a way to get a different audio stream so you can still have the engines without the official commentary, then it would probably work a lot better.
Yeah,
I just don't know how to do that. So if anyone on the stream does, let us know.
Yeah, do drop me a message if you know. We'd really appreciate that. But as well, there's like a 6 to 10 second delay as well. So we're here going, oh, what an amazing move, and everyone's going, yeah, we've already seen it, thanks. Keep up. So it's a little bit awkward, but yeah, we'll look at it for the future. Would Danny Kvyat be better than Stroll or Sorokin? Asks vlogging at Charlie. I'll let you have that, Jonty. I've answered a few on that one this last week.
Yeah, it would. Kvyat's speed was never in question. It was just some of his decisions, which, looking back, it was dealt with very, very harshly. But he was a bit of a loose cannon sometimes. But he was definitely quick.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anymore on Kvyat. I've had my say through the winter a lot. Yeah. Red G says, stream live from the circuit. If I could afford it, I'd be there every weekend. Guarantee every single race, but that's just never going to happen, unfortunately.
I once worked it out just for a laugh to be able to follow it to every race and afford hotels and tickets and what have you. And it's somewhere around 71,000 to do a whole year. So you guys know what to do.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, I mean, is
that it? I just thought that's me savings, mate. Well, sod it, let's go.
On what donates like £700 each, then it might be possible.
Yeah, there you go. That'll do. I need to get a passport. Mine's out of date. I haven't updated it for about 300 years. Technic Player 72, are Williams the slowest team? I think on today's evidence, they are right now. I can't see. I think Sauber are quick enough to stay ahead of them at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely the slowest at the moment.
They'll improve. Whether it'll be enough to really wow us, I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. Do you think the F1 will return to the Nürburgring? Asks Stephen Lee. I believe it's still been negotiated, and that is a track that we are desperate to see back, aren't we, Jonty? What a track that is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I dislike the revised Hockenheim layout intensely. Nürburgring is a much better choice.
Dennis Atlasov says, as a Russian, can our Grand Prix ever be good? Absolutely, if they move it to another circuit. Because that's a terrible track. It needs tweaking, but I don't think with all the infrastructure around it, they can do that, can they?
No, it's very difficult because it's sort of threaded through the whole Winter Olympics complex, which makes it very, very tricky.
Yeah. Jamie Russell, Honda versus Renault. Honda are, I don't think they're on a par. I don't think they're on a par with Renault yet. I think Renault still have the edge, but they've just shown on certain tracks that they can take the fight to them, and that's what we want to see. So massively positive for Honda, but I'm not feeling bad for Renault. I think they're still looking pretty good.
Yeah, there's no knockout just yet, but at the moment, Renault are winning on points.
Refresh for stream. Is anybody having problems? You got problems with your stream, John, to your end? I've got an error. I'll smash refresh, but...
No.
No, might just be some then. We're ending soon anyway, because obviously we're doing Q&A. So TK through Super Chat, thank you very much, mate. Thoughts on the engine freeze idea until 2021? Could work. The problem is the reasons that Red Bull are putting forward for it don't work. And Renault, because, you know, saying we want an engine freeze so that other teams don't come in with an advantage, well, if you freeze the engines, Mercedes and Ferrari will develop their engine just as much. So it's not going to make a lot of difference. But I can't see it happening. I just can't see Ferrari, aside from anybody else, agreeing with that, or Mercedes, to be fair.
No, they certainly wouldn't agree to it.
Why give up your competitive advantage at the end of the day? Yeah,
very much. And some of the suggestion was that they only, that people more than 3% below the top engine can still develop until they get to it. So it's kind of pointless.
What do you think about Hartley's penalty? Was it too harsh? Try to say that correctly. It sounds it, doesn't it? 10-second time penalty, but it was a big impact. I think maybe a little bit. Like I say, 10 seconds seems a lot, doesn't it? But yeah.
It did seem a bit harsh, especially with how long it took them to put the penalty through. By that point, they could already see it hadn't really affected Force India race. It was still going. They hadn't lost that much time from the incident. So maybe a 5-second penalty for it, yes, but 10 seems overly harsh. But as someone just said in the chat, oh no, Vettel got a stop-go penalty in Baku.
Yeah.
So that's more like, a 31-second penalty.
Yeah. Do you think come 2021, Haas would have a shot at the championship? Asks Alexander Williams. I don't know about 2021 because it's all down to these rules, which again we'll debate on Wednesday. But anybody can in 2021. It sounds ridiculous, but look at 2009 as probably the most recent example as to what can happen when you reset pretty much everything in Formula One.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, you look at the Red Bull team development, how long they were going until they got their first title.
Yeah.
That's going to be roughly the same amount of time as Haas in 2021. Two big rule changes, in both cases.
Pennybag says, do you have any thoughts on the extended DRS zone? The Sky commentators seem to think it was overkill. I've had my say on DRS a lot on the channel. I don't like it, but I'm going to let you have that one, Jonty.
Yeah, the extension did seem to make it a bit too effective. It was certainly too effective in the F2. The F1, it did seem to make it easier for some cars, but not for everyone.
Let's have a look. I'll take 2 or 3 more questions then. So if you've got a good one, pop it in. We like to end on an absolute belter. There've been good questions tonight as ever. I just think you've missed this, haven't you, Jonty? So they're all great to you.
Oh yeah, you have no idea how much I've missed this.
I did see somebody earlier ask if we thought that Bottas was underrated. I think the weird thing with Bottas is he's probably rated about where he should be rated, and that probably sounds awful to some people, but I think we saw today he's just not aggressive enough, is he? He should have been up the inside of that Ferrari.
Yeah, he's a good driver, not a good racer. I think that's the easiest way to see him.
Yeah. Stephen Lee wants to know, will Pascal return to F1? I don't see it, John T. I'd like to, because I think he's a nice guy and he's a good driver, but at the end of the day, more often than not, when a driver leaves, that's pretty much it, isn't it? But we'll see. He's still in the Mercedes program, so you never know. But maybe Formula E next year?
That's the usual route they go. Although he has gone back to DTM for this year.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
So that's where he came from originally. So he can keep his performance up there, then he'll still be relevant. And he certainly deserves to have a seat in F1.
Yeah. Martin Van Can, hopes and aspirations for the channel. Honestly, no word of a lie, we are beyond the hopes and expectations I ever had for the channel. So anything from here on in is a massive plus. And a massive thank you again. 24k we've hit tonight. I missed that during the stream, but absolutely incredible. It's been a phenomenal 9 months, hasn't it, John T? And I think I still look at it and I'm still a bit blown away.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think I joined when you're on about 950 or around about there.
Yeah.
So to see it explode has just been insane.
Well, that was only around October time, wasn't it? So, yeah, crazy. It's been crazy. The Mighty Dash says few it's back, so I'm guessing you were having issues, mate. I did have an error message as well, so I refreshed mine. It was all right. Thank you very much again, Lee Hayes, for your contribution. Really do appreciate that. How did Honda come fourth, though? Says Dank Memes. We're all still a bit surprised about it. They just look good all weekend. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those we'll dissect, but really, really good. You got Liberty Media to thank. Maybe. We've gone over Van Dorn's race. We're both pretty happy with him. Seemed to do pretty well. Was pretty close to Alonso, and both McLarens got home well. Actually, that's a good one from Joseph. Kimi going to go. There's some reports this weekend that Ferrari are, and by reports I mean if you dig far enough on the internet and read some drunken guy at the pub's blog, there are some reports that Ferrari are at least considering keeping Kimi for 2021 if they don't, not till 2021, for 2019 if they don't get Ricciardo, because Leclerc may not be ready. I don't believe that. I think Kimi's gone. I think he's pretty much alluded to that himself, and I think this letter of intent, there has to be some truth in it, because in F1, John T, as we know from history, there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah, exactly. If that's being talked about, someone's heard it somewhere in the pit lane or in the paddock, and it's got out. Yeah. These things always get out somewhere. I can't see him being around.
No, I can't. I mean, it'd be a shame, because he's turned up this season and he's quick. He's turned up and he's shown us that all of us through the winter that have gone, he's past it, he's not interested. He's come out in Australia and through Bahrain, apart from the pit stop problems today, and he's basically given us the finger, hasn't he, quite frankly?
Yeah, which is great to see. He's always been one of the characters of F1. We don't want to lose him for that point. But when he really puts his mind to it, he is very, very quick. He's one of the quickest on the grid. Yeah. Someone keep him, please.
Oliver Teller says, thoughts on Eddie Irvine's comments about Sebastian Vettel? I'll be completely honest, I've not heard them, but then I haven't listened to a word Eddie Irvine said since probably about 1997, to be honest. He's another one like Villeneuve that's a little bit up his own backside. So, yeah, a little bit underrated, I always feel, Irvine, but I've not actually seen the comments. So, yeah, have you seen the comments, John T?
I haven't, no.
Ferrari will sign Grosjean for 1 year, and then Leclerc will move to Haas. That's something we kind of toyed with over the winter, wasn't it? Ericsson, a good driver, a good strategy. The strategy was spot on today, but he was quick as well.
Yeah.
So today, a mix of both.
Yeah, he definitely proved himself today. That's his best performance for 4 years at least.
I was looking for one more question to end on before we finish today. Do you know what? Actually, no, we're going to go with that one. It's from A. Groen, who says, Red Bull keep blaming Renault, but make a lot of mistakes themselves, don't they? It's a fair point. We've seen mistakes this weekend. They had the problems last weekend. We saw it last year as well. Renault will always take a huge portion of the blame when it comes to Red Bull because of the lack of power, and they're always going to say that. But they're not perfect, are they? They do make mistakes, even if they do like to keep them quiet.
Yeah, it's starting to get a bit of the McLaren Honda vibe to it.
Yeah.
By this point, because today obviously showed that Red Bull can make big mistakes themselves, or maybe not mistakes, but things which are out of the realm of the engine can go wrong. So they need to lay off Renault a little bit, because as we talked about before with the whole engine thing, they could find themselves at the start of next year pushing the car.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. I talked about Chaz on Wednesday, the possible changes for Red Bull and the engine decision, but they've got to keep them on side, because if Honda, one swallow doesn't make a summer, like I said earlier. If Honda are dire again for the rest of the season, Red Bull are going to need Renault, so I think they need to just shut up and put up and shut up. Thank you very much again to Lee Hayes for the £2. I've had a couple of people just saying disappointed their questions didn't get answered. I can't keep up with the chat. There are so many get asked. We try and answer as many as we can, but we can't stream forever. As much as in some ways I'd love to, because it is brilliant chatting to you all and interacting, but I can't do it. We are going to end it there though. John T, thank you very much for joining us. Crazy stream in terms of viewer numbers, 1,300 plus I think we hit, but it's great to have you back, mate.
Oh, it's great to be back, and thanks to everyone for such a warm welcome back. It's nice to know I've been missed.
It is. It's fantastic, mate. They love your insight, but I'll probably talk to you in a bit, mate, but thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks again. See you, everyone.
Once again, thank you very much to John T, and also to all of you guys. 1,300 plus, that's insane, absolutely insane, and fantastic, and over 24k as well now, so thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it. The channel is absolutely booming, and you're all fantastic, so thank you. I will be back tomorrow with a full review of although this was quite a long one to be fair in the debrief, but a full review of the Bahrain Grand Prix with the results and the championship standings, everything like that, and obviously some post-race reaction as well, because I'll be able to get on top of that one. We will be live on Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time. I'll be with Chaz and John T to debate Liberty's proposals for the 2021 changes, and also the possible changes to race weekend formats. So make sure you come along to that one, because that could get tasty. Like I say, me and Chaz, very differing opinions on some of the things, so it's going to be a good one, and probably John T as well, to be fair, but I'll talk to you about that in a minute, so we'll see where we stand on that one. You can follow me on social media. Links to Twitter, Facebook and Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.